not a self-portrait. No, it's not. Never was intended to be either. What you're seeing is not a likeness to me. And this is what, because I've had this with a few of my works, that I do quite a lot of anthropomorphic sculptures, which obviously is quite often, which means basically animals that have some sort of human qualities, something very interesting. What it is, it's something I didn't realise I was doing for quite a while. I was making lots of these monsters before, which this is a sort of monster as well. People were saying, oh, they really look like you. Which wasn't intentional. But what I realised was, one of the things I was doing while making them, each of these figures, is I was doing, either in my mind or actually physically in my studio, I was doing a little dance. And it was like a certain movement and a certain posture. And I'd have a dance that would go into the figure, which would create the twist and the movement of it. And so I think what people see is my posture and my body language goes into the works. It doesn't actually look necessarily like me, because some of them have got enormous noses and all sorts of stuff. But, so, yeah. Funny enough, this one, I'm really enormous nose. It's quite a big nose.
No, you said it!
But this one, I mean, for example, we actually started, I was looking at, I do a lot of work in the British Museum, I have done for the last couple of years, where I just go in and just draw sculptures, statues, whatever takes my interest. Sometimes I can spend whole days in there. This one, there was a Horus figure in the Egyptian section, which is a hawk god, a falcon, a very beautiful statue, which was a starting point. But then I ended up wanting it to be a bear on its hind legs. So this actually had arms and legs at one point. And so it sort of went through a whole load of transformations. Then I finally settled on an owl figure, which is something I've always loved owls from childhood. And so even though it's less human-like, less anthropomorphized, there's still something that, I mean, kept me interested in it to keep working on it. Because basically I had this period where I was working on lots of different clay figures, and I was sort of roughly making one every 2 days, and I had a whole table full of them. And this one just kept catching my eye, and there's something, and it's because it kept changing, I think, there's something unresolved in it, which makes me feel a bit uncomfortable. I still look at it now and think, it doesn't quite work. But I actually realise that that's something quite interesting, to have things that don't quite work, because it, you know, it sort of breaks it up a bit instead of it being totally finished. But in a more general term, I mean, this is one of the interests that sort of affects a lot of the things I make. I'm very interested in the very earliest origins of art, and particularly sculpture. So I'm looking at a lot of the cave paintings in Germany, in the German Alps and southern France, like the recent discovery of 20 years or so of Chauvet Cave, which there's an absolutely beautiful film by Werner Herzog, if you ever get a chance to see it. Some of you have, looking at your nods, in 3D, which I think was the first 3D film I saw, and I don't think anything else has quite lived up to it, where he takes a camera into the caves of Chauvet in South France and just films all these amazing cave paintings, and they're 35,000 years old, so they are pretty much, or no, 32, so they're very much near the very earliest art. And what is there? There's an owl figure. Yeah. There's anthropomorphic figures there. There's a strange woman figure that's got the head of a bison. You know, and this is the earliest art, and they're already doing anthropomorphism. For me, I mean, I love that idea of it's sort of going back to a psychological thing. And then, just not so long back, I was reading about, well, you know, what is happening in these cave paintings. Perhaps it's a sort of idea of shamanism, perhaps it's an idea, I mean, because we'll never know, that maybe people are taking on these animals to you know, see where they live, become part of their spirit, maybe thank them for offering their bodies, that sort of thing. There's a sort of transformation going on in there. And I suddenly made a link between my little dances that I do, almost like a shamanic dance. I wasn't aware that I was doing them until people started saying I look like my work. And I thought, oh, I wonder if it's that posture thing.
Yeah.
But then there's some psychology that links that, which goes all the way back, at least 35,000 years, which
Yeah.
blows my mind.